Hello and welcome back to Suspended Fanimation. I'm your host, Dennis Bithoulkas, and this is Dispatches from Elsewhere, Season 1, Episode 1, Peter. Welcome, everybody. Sorry I'm a little bit late, but I didn't realize the episode was going to run as late as it did. So yeah, sorry about that. Let me take care of some business first, and then we'll get to it. If you like what you see here, like, share, and subscribe. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, you're going to see the very end of this video. A video pop up here. What YouTube does takes the algorithms for all the stuff you've been watching and tries to match it as best as possible to a video in my vast video library and pops it up there just for you. Up here is going to be Saturday Morning Blast Off is what's going to go up there. You can also hit the bell down below there when you want, if you want to see when I'm going to be on next. But it's a 50-50 chance of YouTube actually notifying you. Best thing to do is go to suspendedfanimation.com. Take a look at the schedule up there. I didn't have a date for today. I mean, a time for today on this one, but I will for tomorrow's, because tomorrow is, I change it out every Monday, that schedule. I also put it up on my Facebook page. And speaking of Facebook, there's a Facebook group page, which you guys can post stuff on and chat amongst yourselves. I have a Twitter, I have an Instagram. I also have a Patreon page, but no tiers set up as of yet. There we go. Sorry about that. Took a little while. So, spoiler alert, I am going to spoil the episode. If you haven't watched the episode, go and watch it. Come on back. This will be a video. You can comment down below in the comment section. Thank you, Viking Bitch, for the paddle. So, what the hell is Dispatches from Elsewhere? That's a good question, because I don't know what it is, but I'm kind of liking it, to tell you the truth. It is so this is actually based on a real thing that happened around 2010, I believe is when it started. 2008, 2010, somewhere around there, in San Francisco. There's actually a short a documentary on it called The Institute that was done in 2013 on this whole thing. And that's what it's based off of. So Jason Segel, who stars in this, of course, is the executive producer. He also directed the first episode here and also stars in it, of course. So it's something weird. He likes really weird stuff, and quite honestly, it pushes all my weird buttons as well. So that's the reason why I wanted to cover it, because it does have a very the one thing I'm getting a vibe off of it. It feels a lot like Legion, in that kind of tone. It's very Legion esque, if you will. And you have Richard Grant, who is one of my favorite actors, by the way, and he likes really weird stuff as well. So he is the head of the Jejune Institute, is what this is called. He's Octavio Coleman Esquire, and he's of course the head of the Jejune Institute. And we see him; he pops up in the very beginning of the episode, and he's just staring at us for a little bit. Then he goes, "Now that I have your attention," he goes, "I'm going to do a little something different." And normally, what we would do in something like this, and this teleplay, Dispatches from Elsewhere, is you would have setting up who the characters are, and you would go through all this exposition and everything, and then you would get into the story. He goes, "Well, we're going to do something different. I'm going to give you who the character is in 2 minutes. That'll save 20 minutes of your life," is what he says, and we'll get to the storyline. So they introduce Peter, basically that Peter is in a dead end job, does the same thing every day, doesn't make eye contact with anybody, um, basically exists. He does not live. A lot of people do that, quite honestly. And it's not until he sees this guy hanging up a flyer on a light post. He's actually sees these flyers out there, and he starts, imagining different things. There's something off in Peter. We can see this already. There is something off in him. Excuse me. Um, but he sees this guy in a hoodie with sunglasses on at night, hanging up a flyer, asking, "Have you seen this man?" And it's a drawing of him. He looks like the Unabomber pretty much, with little tabs on there. And as the guy looks at him, when he's hanging this thing up on the light pole, he takes off and starts running. So Peter goes up and takes a tab, calls up the number on there as he's at home. He gets no answer, so he hangs up. And of course, someone calls him back and knows who he is. But of course, caller ID. Gives him an address, which he doesn't have to write down. He actually memorizes this. And it's got a lot of numbers in it, too. And he decides to go and find out what this whole Jejune Institute is all about. And it's a very weird introduction. He goes down a hallway. He's given a key. He goes down a hallway, follows the instructions on the key itself, um, goes into a room, sits down in an armchair, and there's an old-fashioned, like, 1950s TV that clicks on, and it's Octavio Coleman, their Esquire, who basically tells him, that it's a rare person who actually takes the tab, an even rarer person that actually calls the number, an even rarer person that actually shows up and sits in the chair and listens to all this stuff. Yeah, the stuff in the hallway was just some weird stuff. And quite honestly, I can see stuff like that in San Francisco at that point in time. There was a lot of artists that were still in the city at that point in time, and there was a lot of weird happenings that happened like that. And like I said, I've talked about this previously that I heard about this thing, this Jejune Institute, when I lived in San Francisco. I heard about it briefly, but um, it was kind of on my periphery of things. I never was invited to join this thing or anything like that. I'm kind of disappointed that I wasn't, because it just seems so fucking weird that it would have been something I would have been into, quite honestly. And I'm kind of disappointed that I missed out on that. Yeah. Uh, hey, Josephine Tracy. Yeah, you watched it. You just watched it. Yeah. It's uh it's interesting. It's a very interesting show. So as he's getting ready to fill out the card that is in the desk next to him, he sees underneath that card there's a stack of cards. That these cards are telling there's other cards that are written on top of it. Don't fill out the cards. They're not what they seem to be. Run, Peter, is what it says, the last card. So he takes off running, and there's instructions on what to do. Run down the stairs. The alarm's been disabled, all this kind of stuff. And he gets a call from Commander 14 of the Elsewhere Society, and the sworn enemy of the Jejune Institute at this point. And he he gets instructions on running into this shop, which he does. It's down this alleyway, and he runs into Simone. And Simone, I can't tell if Simone is transgender or not. I think she is, but it's just she's kind of an odd character, and she is thinking that it's more of a game than anything else. Doesn't know, she immediately like thinks that he's part of the game as well, and it's a very weird thing. They get their instructions, or they get a pamphlet, if you will, an envelope with some instructions in there of what they're supposed to do next, and basically they're supposed to wait it out. And he of course ends up getting a call later on, Peter, in the rain when it's raining out, to go to this phone that is attached to a wall outside of a building, and it's Commander 14 again, and Commander 14 basically tells him to dance, and that dancing is part of it, that he needs to do it. So he's dance, you mother lover, you lanky bastard, dance. So of course he starts dancing, and this breakdance group shows up in the rain, starts dancing, and he's dancing as well. And who comes out but Bigfoot? Um, Bigfoot in a tracksuit and starts dancing with them. I mean, like I said, this pushes all the fucking buttons in my wheelhouse. This is no, he didn't imagine it, because Simone tells him later on, she even says, and I wrote it down because I started laughing. She goes, I don't know if that thing was Sasquatch, a Yeti, or Bigfoot, but that thing can dance. And I thought that was pretty funny. He goes, that was Bigfoot, is what he says. Peter goes like, yeah, that was definitely Bigfoot. And Bigfoot, of course, hands him an envelope which has a radio in there and some other stuff as well. And they are directed to go to this park where they have paddles that they hold up that are all different shades of blue. And they're listening to the voice of the radio as well. And they are directed to go to this park where they have paddles that they hold up that are all different shades of blue. And they're listening to the voice of the radio. And he's talking about how they are now all agents of nonchalance. And it's cryptic radio is what he calls it. It's a cryptic radio station. And they all excuse me, they all need to find Clara, the special one. And that a guy that's standing there with the same color paddle as them, and he's got a hat on. He's like, go and find the others. He goes, I need to listen. What's going on? He's very entranced by what's he's listening to. And they find Janice as well, which is played by Sally Field. And Fredwin, who we find out who's played by Andre 3000, or Andre Benjamin as he's known now. He says it's a government conspiracy. Um, Simone thinks it's a game, that it's just a game, some weird game. And they want to know what Peter's opinion is. And Peter, of course, doesn't want to say anything because I don't want to sound stupid. And Fredwin immediately says, "You're selfish Buddha. That's what you are. You're selfish Buddha. Tell us what you know." And so Peter says, "Well, what if it's real? What if this whole thing is real?" And Fredwin starts laughing at him, you know? And they're like, "Shut up, man. He's saying what you asked him, what his sprays with pepper spray and everything, and takes off, goes home, and has to calm herself down, of course, and starts remembering all the good stuff that happened that night because, of course, it was ruined at the end of the night by these two thugs. And everything's okay at that point. Um, but we end with that. But we got the preview for next week, or actually tomorrow, because it's on Monday nights. So I am going to be covering this on Monday nights. And of course, these people are going to be drawn together to find all these clues to find Clara. And that's kind of where we left off on this. And like I said, this really does push all the buttons uh, in me for stuff that I wanted to see. Um, he said, talked about before in other podcasts, he says he is a reliable narrator. He's only lied to us once. Uh, we get past character exposition, of course, the needless character exposition is what he says. And we get to the story, things that I've all complained about before and things like this. And he kind of hit all that right at the beginning. And that's when I knew this was going to be something different. Well, also because Jason Segel's involved in this as well. And I have a feeling that he and I are kind of on the same wavelength of shit. So, yeah, this was a fun episode. The door, they have a keychain. The keychain from the hallway that had the instructions was hanging right by the door. Um, basically when they're walking out the door, it's to the left. It's just hanging there. And I saw that and I'm like, "Oh, wait a minute. Is it really a game at this point? Is the Elsewhere Society, is this actually linked together?" And also, the other thing too is Octavio Coleman says at the very beginning too that when he's talking about the whole episode itself, he says, yes, they've named the writers of the show have named this because that's one of the things we've also talked about here on this channel with people in the chat as to what the hell um, do these titles have to mean with anything? Like, oh, okay, and then it pops up in the episode. Well, the title of the entire series here is going to pop up at some point in these episodes. JC says, "Aren't Coleman and Commander 14 played by the same guy? That's got to mean something." I don't think they are. It sounds like the same guy, but Commander 14 has a beard going on. And I don't know if they just put a beard on Richard Grant or what. Yeah, I thought it was Richard Grant's voice too, JC. Every now and then it would switch and it sounded like Richard Grant's voice. I don't know if they're mixing his voice in or we're going to be playing with on this. And it's going to be an interesting series. I think it's going to be a very interesting series and something that I'm looking forward to covering, to tell you the truth. This is something I keep talking about, that I want to see something different on TV. It reminded me of Fallout video games, what Kevin says here with the vault experiments. Exactly. It's very experimental and how it was very weird and puzzle like. So good stuff. 7:15 Pacific time, 10:15 Eastern Standard Time, which means I guess it ends at 11:15. So hopefully everyone is enjoying it. I don't know, what did you guys think of the first episode so far? Everyone who's here in the chat, and I'm seeing some new faces too. So that's great. Welcome aboard. Um, Usually what I do for new series and stuff like that is I give it 4 episodes, and if it's 4 episodes in a row, they're bad, then I drop the series. But obviously, I love this first episode, so I don't think I'm gonna be dropping this anytime soon. It's just a lot of fun. It really is. Kevin J said, "Had me glued to the TV from the opening scene." Yeah, when he just kind of speaks to you, Richard Grant, um, it just kind of drew me in, especially when he hit every single thing that I've talked about in the podcast before. And I was like, okay, you got me. I'm here. I'm going to stick with this. This is actually really good. Penn says, I hope it finds an audience. I'm really liking it. Yeah. Kevin J also says the show seems like a puzzle for the viewer to figure out as much as the characters on the show. I agree. I definitely agree with this. Yeah. Yeah, Penn. I'm pretty sure the 4-episode rule is out the window for this one as well. As you could tell from me laughing. JC says Siegel warned us he was going to drop some Easter eggs, and yeah, I kind of figured as much. He is very eclectic. He is a very weird person too. He has puppets all over his house, from what I understand. So, when he did the Muppet stuff, even before he did the Muppet movie, he actually has puppets all over his house. So, Pan Farm Girl says we got to get Phonovich on board. They'll be glad. Yeah, I know. Once they watch this, I think they'll be hooked as well. JC says one I spotted was his imagined spot for the memories to media experiment. One of the scenes is showing a flash forward of Peter running into Simone. Yeah, it did. When they're looking at the map, there was a couple things that were actually flash from those memories. Excuse me. I have pneumonia still, so I'm recovering slowly but surely. That's why I cough every now and then. I apologize. Actually, kind of scares off dates because he has puppets all over the living room of his house when people come in. I guess he has a lot of puppets. It's like more than a normal person would have. And of course, he has a few that are based on him. So, yeah. I'm trying to think. No, I don't have any puppets anywhere. Otherwise, they'd probably be sitting on the back wall someplace here. I just have some stuffed figures here and there, some Deadpool and some Batman up there. Please come on back. Definitely join in the chat. If you can't make the chat, I understand, especially for those of you guys on the East Coast. Definitely, comment down below in the comment section. I'm very active in the comments. I will talk to you guys and post stuff in there too. So yeah, that's looking forward to tomorrow. Yeah, definitely looking forward to tomorrow. So what do I have coming up? Tomorrow, of course, is the second episode of Dispatches from Elsewhere. Tuesday is going to be Project Blue Book. Wednesday and Thursday I'm off. I don't know. I might throw in Is It Worth My Time? Altered Carbon Season 2, because I finished that. Yay. Friday, of course, is the Clone Wars. Clone Wars episode 3. Episode 3 is going to be on there. Saturday is Saturday Morning Blast Off. For those of you who are new, Saturday Morning Blast Offs where I take the genre news of the week and any other genre stuff you guys want to talk about and talk about it with you guys. Usually like about an hour and a half, 2 hours long, somewhere around there. And it's pretty much everything and anything. Genre-wise. Sunday, I don't have anything on Sunday right now because Westworld is going to be starting up on the 15th. And that's what I'll have on that. Maybe I'll do Is It Worth My Time on that stuff then. I think that'll work. So with that said, again, I'm just kind of giddy about this, to tell you the truth. Yes, I use the word giddy. It is one of it's so far it's one of my favorite new shows already. I don't think people are done with it yet. There's some people that are still watching it, and yeah, I think I can wait till Sunday. That way, everyone gets a chance. Not everyone just watches it all in one weekend like I can. So I think that'll be good. Yeah. So I'm gonna let you guys go. Then is what I'm gonna do. I know it's late for you guys out in the East Coast, and for those of you out here on the West Coast or elsewhere, dispatch. Thank you, everybody who joined me tonight in the chat. Thank you if you made it this far in the video. Also, remember, if you're still on the fence about joining up, take a look at the video up here. 50-50 chance of YouTube actually notifying you. Otherwise, go to suspendedfanimation.com for all the rest of the links that are there. Thank you, everybody. I will see you tomorrow for the second episode of Dispatches from Elsewhere. Can't wait for that. Until then, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may find out that the Jejune Institute is not what it seems. Or is it? We won't know for sure. Thanks, everybody. I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good rest of your night.